Nóirín, thanks for taking part in this bonus episode for in the International Day of Play. I suppose it's one of the things that comes up from time to time, and it was a question that I saw in a Van Leer policy in Early Childhood in Focus document, this idea of, the potential of play as pedagogy. Can you talk to us, a little bit about that idea?
There's a real tension in this whole thing about play, because there are the sort of the poles around play, and this idea that unless play is purely free play, when it's absolutely unencumbered by any interference at all, it's really not play. It becomes something else. And then there's this idea that, well, we can let children play according to our ambitions, that they will learn through this, that, and the other. And so we do shape play, for example, with shapes, where they put the shapes into the proper shape and they learn the names of the shapes, and that, and we're kind of moving them towards more academic play. And I think increasingly efforts at sort of defining play have stopped or moved on. Play is a process, and this idea of a spectrum of play, and that at different times in a day in a child's life, they may be playing in one kind of style or in one kind of way for one kind of reason. So I think what we need to really appreciate is that we need to understand that play and playfulness can be felt. It can be felt and it can be seen. And we need to actually think about the relationship, the power relationship between the adult in providing a playful environment, and between which will be, as you were talking about, safe. But we need children in their play to be able to take risks, and so you need to think a little bit about safe risk, but risk that is really critical to children. So I suppose I think this idea of spectrum is really important, and then you have to ask yourself, well, okay, what's the role of the adult if you're focusing entirely on child-directed play, let's say, or child-led play, or child-led? What does the adult have? Is the adult merely a provider of equipment and a kind of a watching eye to, avoid accidents and so forth? And of course, that can't be the case. I mean, the educator is an educator. There's a pedagogical value to play. I think that's what's really important to recognise. And there is a distinction between play, which has a pedagogical value, and play, which is merely occupation. When we talk about play in early childhood education, it can be occupational at some stage. It can be completely relaxing, which in itself is educational, but it does also have pedagogical potential. And so what I think we need to sort of strike is a balance between child-led play and guided play. I came across, and unfortunately I cannot recall the author of the reference, but I certainly have quoted it and referenced it, that there is a danger with guided play, and this is when it gets to the planning, that it becomes adult planned play. And the term they used was, it's co-opted play. So it's actually adults coming in and taking play away from children. And actually it ceases to be play. So there is that balance between guided play and child-led play. But it is ridiculous to presume that if you simply leave children play, they will learn. There's a lot around the careful construction of environments that stimulate exploration, that stimulate play, that move children up a notch, and that actually introduce new ideas for children. And that's a mile away from just providing a safe space for children to run around and play. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I think play is complex, and pedagogical, play that has a pedagogical dimension does have embedded in it the learning opportunity. And your role is to make the most of that, but don't make it a big deal. That's part of what you do with all the different children in different ways. It'll happen.
But I think it's important that the guidance, the guiding play is again around the environment rather than the adult taking it over and you must do this and you must stick this here and
exactly.
We're making daffodils today and that means that you put this here, and that's not play.
I think one of the saddest things I ever heard coming out of a class with a group of students, and they were reasonably well on into the year in their training, and one saying to the other, now it wasn't this year, just to make clear, but saying, I always find it difficult, when St. Patrick's Day and Easter come so closely together, because I've only just finished putting up the shamrock and I have to take them down to put up the rabbits.
Yeah,
thinking,
yeah. Oh. And then you've Mother's Day in the middle of that, and like a colleague of mine described it one time, it can be like Template City.
That's absolutely. Yeah. What a terrible waste of everybody's time, because that isn't professionally challenging.
Not at all.
It isn't professionally challenging. And if you want to be, if you want to flourish in your workplace, it has to be meaningful to you, and you have to be gaining from it as well. But I think understanding the importance of play, some of the myths have to be kind of knocked on the head. This myth that if they are playing, they're not learning.
Yeah.
or if they're playing, I'm not teaching. Which is, another fear that people have. Yeah. Whereas in actual fact, in their play, they are learning so much. They can be learning at an emotional level, at a linguistic level, at a physical level. Not to mention at an academic, at a cognitive level. They're learning so much about the world and their position in it. But play also is very valuable to adults, because through observation and indeed engagement with play, you learn about children. You learn about where they're coming from, the experiences that funds of knowledge that you talked about that they bring. That's all evident in the way in which they play. And worrying signs can be picked up in play as well. I mean, you can actually identify and begin to pick up some difficulties as well. So I think understanding the importance of play and being, again, professionally confident in able to explain to parents who sometimes don't understand either, that actually your children are learning in this playful environment. And that's a place where things like curricular guide frameworks and that are useful. They give you a language. They give you a language. And in fact, we really need to find a common language so that we can strongly advocate for the importance of play, and not lose sight of the fact that there are some aspects of the day-to-day which are also learning opportunities which aren't play, like sitting at dinner and lunch and toileting and those kind of things.
All those opportunities.
But play is king.
Play is king. Play is fundamental. Nóirín, thank you so much. It was
not at all.
To talk to you. Thank you.
Not at all. Thank you.